Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Listen. If you're new here, welcome. I do true crime in my channel. The whole month of November, I'll be talking about soft, soft cases, and on Fridays I do talk about missing children. The week of Halloween, I didn't know what I was gonna do that week, but I have decided to do my regular Monday video, and then I'm gonna post on Wednesday, and then on Friday. So I'm gonna post on Wednesday. It's gonna be like a maybe soft Thanksgiving case that happened in Thanksgiving, or on soft. I need to look through the cases to see which one I want to do. But yeah, if you are new here, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified every time I upload. So today we're gonna be talking about missing child. We're gonna be talking about LeeAnna Warner. So let's go ahead and get started. And yeah. So LeeAnna Warner was a young girl who disappeared from the city of Shiloh, Minnesota on June 14, 2003, in her suspected abduction and murder. On the day of her disappearance, LeeAnna was last seen walking home from a friend's house between 5 to 5:15 p.m. She was last spotted walking on the southwest 2nd or 3rd Street at the time of her disappearance. LeeAnna was 5 years old. Although there's no contract evidence that LeeAnna was kidnapped, police argue that it is the more realistic option, believing that they would have found her if she had simply wandered off. Over the years, the police have received more than 17,000 leads. However, with very little evidence to go off, they had never had a concrete suspect. To this day, LeeAnna has not been found, and her case remains unsolved. At the time of her disappearance, LeeAnna stood between 3 feet 0 inches and 3 feet to 2 inches and weighed approximately 48 pounds. She's described as being a petite Caucasian female with brown hair. Her hair was cut into a short bob cut at the time of her disappearance. She had dark brown eyes. LeeAnna had two main distinction characteristics, one being the mole above her left ankle and the other being a dimple on her left shoulder. The last thing that LeeAnna was seen wearing was a sleeve blue denim dress. Some sources state a denim shirt with the bell orange underwear, a flower earring with a red garment in her right ear, and no shoes or socks. The Warren family includes Tiffany Cleland, Witchtaker, who prefers to go by Colleen Hitchtaker, Christopher Warner, and their daughter LeeAnna Warner. LeeAnna's parents are both previously been divorced. Christopher and Kayleen met on and moved in with one another towards the end of 1996, and Kayleen gave birth to LeeAnna on January 1st of 1998. The Warners had only moved to Crestone a few months prior to LeeAnna's disappearance. LeeAnna was described as being an outgoing, friendly, very brave child with several districts that they were considered to be quiet events for her age. She enjoyed playing with dolls, riding her bike, and spending time with her family. On June 14, 2003, LeeAnna was last seen walking barefoot home from her friend's house, which was approximately a block and a half away from her own home. Kayleen informed the authorities that they had just returned home from the Side Lake Run Race sale. Despite Kayleen's protest that LeeAnna needed to rest, her daughter decided that she wanted to go play with her friend, who lived only a few streets away. Kayleen gave her permission to go as long as LeeAnna was home by 5. LeeAnna made the commute to her friend's house at 4:30, in a short walk that her parents said she had done many times on her own. However, upon her arrival, it would appear that there was no one at the home at her friend's place, so she decided to turn around and go home. LeeAnna was last seen walking on the southwest 2nd or 3rd Street between 5 and 5:15. By 5 p.m., LeeAnna had not returned home, and her mother began to panic. At around 5:30 p.m., Kayleen began the search for her daughter, enlisting the help of people in the neighborhood. Parents and children from the surrounding suburbs gathered together to search for LeeAnna. By 9 p.m., despite the sensitive search party, there had still not been no sign of LeeAnna. It was at this stage that Kayleen and Chris reported their daughter missing to local police. The Crossland Police Department arrived on the scene shortly after they received a phone call from the Warren family. Another search party was sent out, this time including the aid of the authorities. A combination of police, firefighters, local volunteers, and expert tracks and bloodhounds gathered to search the town. They checked they checked garbage bins, barns, shade, and abundant iron horn mines in the hope that LeeAnna had simply wandered off and gotten lost. The group searched for 48 hours but were unable to find anything that hinted at what happened to LeeAnna. The week following her disappearance, authorities had an extensive search that included helicopters, bloodhounds, but by the end of the month they were not any closer to finding LeeAnna. A month after LeeAnna vanished, a local townsperson came across a child's footprints near Longyard Lake, the lake LeeAnna was at with her mother on the day of her disappearance. The Sargent Police Department had the lake drained in an attempt to locate LeeAnna or her body, but they never found no evidence of her being there. They were forced to stop their search over the winter as the lake and the surrounding areas froze over. In the summer of 2004, the authorities began a new search of Shannon in another effort to find LeeAnna's remains, but no new evidence surfaced. Since, since then, there had not been no further official search scheduled. In 2020, Shirley Police Chief Vernon Manor said, "We still have several persons of interest, and the fact that we cannot call them suspect because we don't have any evidence. But we have people that we can clear out either." So these are the suspect that they think, the suspect and theories. There are a number of suspect and theories associated with what happened to LeeAnna Warner. However, to this date, none of them have been proven true. Kaylin, Christopher, and family. Kaylin and Christopher were never considered suspect and they were not required to take lie detector tests. However, Christopher had been having domestic problems with his ex-wife and had even sought out a restraining order on her. He also claimed that she had made threats towards Kaylin and LeeAnna. Despite the information, authorities felt that Christopher's previous problems with his ex-wife were not connected to his daughter's disappearance. Years after LeeAnna disappeared, Kaylin and Christopher moved away from Crossley to try and start fresh, claiming the town no longer felt safe or like home to them. Matthew James Curtis, one of the main suspects that was defined was potentially having a role in LeeAnna's disappearance, was a man by the name of Matthew James Curtis, who was at age 24 at the time. In August 2003, Curtis was arrested for possession of child pornography. He was interrogated a number of times by the police about whether or not he had anything to do with LeeAnna's case. Due to his prior charges and his proximity to LeeAnna, authorities suspect that Curtis had played a role in the young girl's disappearance. They were granted a warrant and searched his pickup truck for DNA samples. However, an extensive search of his truck and his belongings revealed that there was no evidence that LeeAnna had been in the vehicle. Therefore, there was no way to directly connect Curtis to the case. In September 2003, the day before he was supposed to appear in a local court of the child pornography charges, Curtis' corpse was found in his pickup truck a few miles of her. Authorities claim that Curtis suffocated himself with a plastic bag. The investigation into Curtis' death was closed and officially ruled a suicide. However, there was a great deal of speculation and controversy surrounding his death, with some believing that Curtis was murdered and his body was positioned to make it look like a suicide. Currently, there is no evidence to suspect this claim. Joseph was a convicted sex offender who was accused of kidnapping 2 children in Idaho. When the authorities were going through his computer for unrelated cases, they came across a temperature document which made reference to LeeAnna's disappearance. Duncan also kept an online diary. In 2004, Duncan wrote in this diary explaining that he was afraid that he was going to be blamed for the disappearance of LeeAnna Warner. He also discussed his dissatisfaction with the investigation into him and his disconnect with being labeled as a sex offender. His knowledge of the missing Minnesota girl led to an investigation about whether he had anything to do with this young girl's disappearance. However, the authorities could not find nothing contract to put him on trial. A timeline of Duncan's most recent activity also revealed that he had not been in the Crossing area at the time of LeeAnna's alleged abduction. A little old lady. Christopher Kaylin told authorities that in the weeks leading up to his disappearance, her disappearance, LeeAnna had been behaving strangely. One afternoon, LeeAnna's parents came home to her playing with the cats, a case filled with Barbie dolls, and their clothes, despite them never having purchased these toys for her. When Colleen asked her where she had gotten them from, LeeAnna said she had been given them from a little old lady. A week prior to her disappearance, LeeAnna packed a suitcase with all her favorite things and told her parents she wanted to go live at her new family's house. They also found her sleeping in her closet one night, claiming that she was afraid that the monster outside her window were going to get her. Investigators looked into this and determined that there was no evidence to indicate that anyone had used toys to lure LeeAnna away from her family. The information was dismissed. A defined suspect. At the time of LeeAnna's disappearance, numerous witnesses recall seeing a man in his mid-30s walking around the neighborhood. He was described as being approximately 5 to 10 feet tall and around 155. He allegedly had dark tattoo of a star or a sun on his right arm. This man had not been identified. And at the same time, witnesses defined in maroon and blue Cadillac that was driven by an African American man who appeared to be in his 20s or 30s and a bald or shaven head. There were also accounts of unfamiliar older model rusty brown pickup truck that was driven by a Caucasian man with a black curly hair. None of these men have been identified and it remains unclear whether any of them had anything to do with the LeeAnna disappears. LeeAnna disappearance received local media attention, particularly from Kissimmee and the surrounding areas. The case was aired on America's Most Wanted in July of that year. In recent years, People magazine had attempted to investigate the disappearance of a young girl. Podcast True Crime Garbage released a two-part series of LeeAnna's disappearance in August of 2021. Part 1 details the circumstances of LeeAnna's disappearance, and Part 2 discusses possible suspects. And that is the case of LeeAnna. And I don't know what to say about this one. This one is one of those cases that, like, when you don't have zero leads, it's like, it's crazy. Like, where did she go? Like, it was a walk that she made every single day. So for her just to disappear like that and nobody saw anything, that's crazy. And I hope that we get answers, and I hope her families get answers soon. Guys, I will see you on Monday. Have a good day.